The EFF will this morning hold what it's called the VAT Victory in Pretoria, March in Pretoria, and party supporters are expected to gather at the Union buildings and proceed to the offices of the Treasury. The march comes 2 days before Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana tabled an unprecedented third budget in Cape Town. Natasha Phiri is following the march for us in Pretoria.
Thank you so much, Juliet. So the stage is set. We've got EFF members painting the streets of Pretoria red, and of course they're just waiting for their leader, Mr. Julius Malema, who's actually going to lead them alongside the leadership of the EFF, their supporters and their members to WF Nkomo Street, and of course that is where the Treasury's National Treasury's office is actually situated. So there are EFF members behind the truck. We're just waiting for the leader there. But while we wait for Mr. Malema, we are joined by Nkululeko Dunga, who's the chairperson of the EFF in Gauteng. Thank you so much for joining us on SABC News. So, Dunga, I think you've seen on social media and some pundits saying that no political party should actually claim any victory for the VAT suspension. What do you have to say to that?
No, well, it will only be a voice that is actually attributed by other political parties who failed to actually enforce, this particular directive. So we are going to take the victories as they come, because they are not the victories of the EFF necessarily, but for the society and for the people of South Africa. And that needs to be highlighted more than anything. That it was the EFF, when there was a VAT increase that was tabled before the National Assembly and subsequently accepted through the usage of obviously other political parties in support thereof. And it was the reasoning of the EFF, not only in the National Assembly, but also in the corridors of the courts, that actually enforced that this particular decision be rescinded.
Mr. Dunga, I think highlight the importance of this march taking place just 2 days before the Budget 3.0.
The necessity of it all is that society, as well as the political authorities that govern not only the framework of government but also are going to be at the National Assembly, thoroughly understand the position of the EFF. And that is to say that there are other avenues of trying to circumvent the shortfall that would have been attributed towards the 1% VAT increase of about 78 billion. And that is one, the introduction of the wealth tax, but also the move of the National Assembly outside of Cape Town and back into Gauteng as the central point of both the legislative and executive authority, and that can really assist. But also the elimination of deputy ministers, which are meaningless and useless at this point, because they don't make any executive assistance or contribute anything towards the framework of governance. But we are calling for one of the demands of the EFF is obviously the scrapping of student debt and also the elimination of austerity measures, where we really believe that they should be more on social expenditure, such as the Department of Health must be equipped with the necessary finances, as well as education, and also social grants, because the more you have money in the pockets of the people of South Africa, is the more that they are able to spend, and the more you spend is the more the economy grows. It's as simple as that. And those are just some of the demands that the EFF is calling for.
Just briefly before we wrap, because they're whispering my ear in studio, how do you expect the budget to travel down to Gauteng as the Gauteng provincial leader of the EFF? How should it translate to the issues in Gauteng, especially issues of infrastructure and municipalities as well?
Well, no thanks for that. I mean, the government of Gauteng relies heavily on conditional grants, so we'd obviously have to await what would be the new framework that speaks of the division of revenue. But we've always said this, and we keep on saying it, that Gauteng in itself, if the EFF were to govern it, had we been given the responsibility to govern it, one would have been to change the entire composition and make it the city of Gauteng, because it's a metropolitan by nature, and therefore should be able to amass its own investment and have its own way of making money, as opposed to just directly relying on on revenue based on grants that would be given, conditional grants that is. But be that as it may, we are not looking forward to anything that will seek to eliminate any funding, particularly in terms of health, in terms of education, and in terms of social development in the mainframe, because we have a backlog of about 2,500 classrooms that need to be sorted out in Gauteng. We do have a significant portion of doctors and nurses that need to come into the system and really assist. And we've got a backlog of about 2 million people who need housing in Gauteng, and really a grant should speak to those things.
Mr. Dunga, thank you so much for your time, of course, highlighting the EFF's expectations ahead of the budget, and of course the expectations of the EFF when it comes to the province of Gauteng. As you would know, that Nkululeko Dunga is the chairperson of the EFF in this province. Juliet, before I step out of frame and toss back to you in the studio, I just want to show you the numbers of EFF members that have gathered here. Of course, this is just, some of them. There will be some at the National Treasury offices, and there are some behind the truck. Of course, I'm not alone. My colleague from the Econ desk, Diabo Sit, who is actually at the Treasury offices, and of course we will bring you this march, live coverage of this march as soon as it starts. With that said, it's back to you in studio.
Thank you very much. Our SABC reporter Natasha Phiri coming to us live from that EFF march in Pretoria.